All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great, what is it today? Tuesday. Gosh, time's flying by. But here's what we got in the docket today. We're going to talk about what happened with the miners today, Bitcoin as well. We'll also take a look at Cipher today, provided their production update for June, along with Cleanspark. So we'll go through those numbers, my spreadsheets as always, and then we'll get into your guys' Q&A side of things. So it should be a pretty easy day on that regard, okay? But as always, you guys know the drill here. Not financial advice, for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And this is my full disclosure for you guys. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. But let's take a look at some Bitcoin charts really quick here as well while we're at it. So the first one is the network hash rate for Bitcoin right now. We can see here that on the 7-day, it is down to approximately 552 exahash. This is the lowest it's been here for quite a while. We actually reached 550 a couple of days ago, but that's still pretty low from where we have been. I like to look at the 30-day average, kind of smooths things out a little bit, and we are still pretty low on that. We're down to 580 exahash compared to where the top was, right around 625. So that is a decrease of about, what is it, 7% decrease or something like that. So after the halving event, we were thinking we're going to get maybe 10, 15, 20% decrease in network hash rate. So far, we've gotten like 7% or so. It's still not bad. It's still a cleansing of the network hash rate, more or less. You get to older machines that are getting plugged off. And that's a good thing there for the overall network. I think the miners that are still currently mining are definitely making more because of it, right? And if we look at the Bitcoin fees per day, those have been coming down also. So that's kind of contributing a little bit to a lull here in the mining economics for Bitcoin miners. And same thing within petahash or hash rate index, for Bitcoin. We can see here that it's like right at $48 right now as of 5 p.m. Today. We did hit a low here on, when was it, June 24th, where we were at $46.55. So we're not seeing the transaction fees being as high, but still for June, it actually came out to be like 9.94% additional on top of what the Bitcoin rewards are, which is 3.125 Bitcoin per block, right? So we saw a huge spike here in like the beginning of June. This was right around June 8th. We had, what was that, $95 per petahash at that point. You can also see it here on the BTC transaction fees, which we had at 312 BTC for that day, which was pretty big. All right, so that's what really caused that percentage to actually go up on them. But looking at the miners here on Bitcoin itself, Bitcoin, if we look at it here really quick, was actually down today, right? And if you recall, yesterday I talked about I'm a little weary about the RSI. I thought it was a little high for the daily, right? I was talking about this and where we were before, we were actually higher in price, or at the same, we were actually lower in price, right, at that point. We were higher in price on the RSI here at the same spot. So I said we might be coming down, and sure enough, it does look like it's playing out that way. We might be coming down to, well, we came down to the 61,000 mark here, which is our support. We'll see if this holds. If this doesn't hold, then I think we might be coming down to possibly our 200-day moving average. This is a simple moving average, which is the green line over here. And we have crossed that before as well. This is going back all the way to back here where we crossed it. This was back in August of last year. So pretty much almost a full year out, right? We crossed it, and it was like for 59 days we were below that mark before we started going much higher on Bitcoin here. I don't expect the same thing to happen here. I think we might just have a little bit of a pullback, a wick down to that range, maybe go below it to like the 57,500 mark or so, which is our next support here. And then maybe trade there for a couple of days and before we start maybe going up. That's maybe. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's kind of my thought processes on it. Let me know what you guys think of that. Okay, as far as the miners are concerned here, the miners for the most part didn't do too well. They weren't down too bad, but they didn't do too great either. ANY was down 2.8%. Argo was just down 0.82%. BitDigital was down 4.4%. BitDeer was up nicely today, 9.63%. It's continuing in this nice rally that it's been having here recently. And it hasn't come close to its 52-week highs yet, but it's trying to get there. So we'll have to see how that one does. Bitfarms was down 5.78% today. And that one has been, it reached a kind of peak here. When was this? This was back on Thursday, June 20th. At around 328, and it's been coming back down ever since then. I would expect it maybe to come back down more into the 100-day moving average here, which is the blue line over here. Maybe bounce off of that potentially. We'll see if it tests it. If it does test it, we might be coming down a little bit more. We'll have to see where this one goes. But if you're buying into it, it's a good sign. You can buy it at a much lower cost. I will be buying into it possibly next week once I have a little bit more cash to do that. Cipher was down 2.97%. as well. Cleanspark was down 5.5%. A little surprised on that one. It actually had a really good June update, so surprised by that. Not sure why that one was going down. CORZ was up 4.16%. Digihost was up 2.96%. Let's see here. DMG was up 0.92. Hive was down 2.48. Hut 8 was down, actually up 2.7%. And then IREN was up 14% today. For really, I mean, I didn't see any release, press release or anything like that came out today to really pump it. Not sure what happened there. I think maybe it's just kind of bouncing off of this couple of days where it was coming down and it's bouncing off of that potentially, right? So that might be a pretty good sign there. RSI is starting to get up there towards the 70 mark as well. Maybe we'll have a pullback tomorrow. We'll have to see where it goes. But I mean, yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty good here. The last time it was at this range was back here, and this was back in April of 2022. Wow. So we're going back almost 2 years here on that, where it's testing it. And remember, IREN went public here in, was it November of 2021? I wouldn't really count this because they kind of got in at the bull run. They had a much lower hash rate at that point. So I think it's just testing the new, it's trying to find its new high, basically, what I'm seeing here on this. But we'll see. On IREN, what goes up there. Marathon was down 1.95%. Mawson was down 2.5%. Riot was down 2.3%. Stronghold was down 7.4%. And Wolf was down 3.07%. Okay. So we'll take a look at IREN when they report their June update, which I think is going to probably happen here. Probably, maybe tomorrow we'll get it. They're usually like 2 to 3 days out when they report their numbers. So maybe tomorrow we'll get that information. We'll obviously cover it for you guys when that does happen. All right. So that is it on the miners. Let's take a look at the updates that we do have here. So the first one's going to be on Cipher. So Cipher Mining announces June 2024 operational update. It's going to be a pretty short and sweet one here from them. They reported BTC mined 176, right? But they do have this, what is that? The one, I never remember these. That's not a quote. It's, you guys don't know what I mean. But goes down here. So this includes June power sales estimates based on current metadata and nodal prices equivalent to 6 Bitcoin. So I took out the 6 Bitcoin here for the power sales because it's not really mining. It does generate some income for them, but we're looking at Bitcoin mining itself. So I basically clocked them in at 170 BTC mined here. BTC sold 103, Bitcoin held 2,209, and their month-end operating hash rate was 8.6, and that is mostly contributable to their joint ventures have expanded here. So in June, Cipher delivered another solid month of production and continued to expand operations with energization of the 30 megawatt expansion at each of its Bear and Chief data centers. Right, those are the JVs that they have there. Let's see here. At Bear, we have now received and installed all the new mining rigs, and we expect to finish installing the remainder of the new mining rigs at Chief later this month, said Tyler Page. So let's take a look at what we have there. They go into Bitcoin production and operation updates, and it's pretty much the same thing that was up there. So not much news there. Okay. Looking at Cipher here, Cipher has about 296 million shares outstanding, stock price 472, market cap about 1.4 billion right now. Its performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been great. We've had, some periods where it's done pretty good, but others hasn't done too well. So from 12 weeks ago, it's down 10%, right? From 8 weeks, it's actually up 11%. From 4 weeks, it's up 3%, and last week was down almost 9% on that one. Current hash rate at 8.6. This is with the JVs, right? Future hash rate is 13.8 as well. So they have a little bit more hash rate to install here. Bitcoin HODL, 2.2 thousand roughly. Bitcoin, that's valued at 145 million right now. HODL to market cap is 10.4%. So their market cap contains 10% of their is HODL in there. And that's basically 49 cents per share. Bitcoin production here increased a little bit here to 151.8 based on my numbers for self-mining only. This does not include the JVs. So it's up a little bit here from the 147 that we saw in May, which is kind of nice. So a little bit of a bump. That's always good to see. And then revenue here actually increased a little bit here to 10.01 million from 9.6. And this is also for self-mining. This does not include JV stuff. Because JV stuff does not get put on the revenue side of things. It gets on as assets or something else in there. And that's why we separate it out. Bitcoin HODL has continued to increase here quite nicely to 2,209 right now. Hash rate difference, nice continuation of its growth here recently, which is good to see. And then BTC sold. They've been selling a little bit more here recently. They only sold 1 in April, now 57 in May, and 103 in June here. Right, so they were kind of HODLing as much as they could possibly into the halving event, especially as you see April here. And then they've kind of let off that break a little bit there. when it comes to HODL. Bitcoin exahash efficiency, 19.7, pretty efficient there. BTC sold value, they sold about 6.8 million roughly. And then when we look at the institution side of things, the institutions stayed about the same. Still 186 institutions with them. Shares did increase a little bit here to 60.5 million. Percentage went up to 19.8. And we still have the 2 strong buy ratings, 4 buy ratings, 1 hold rating, 0 underperform, 0 sell ratings. And then the price targets actually went up for them for $9 for the high, $6.58 for the average, and 5 stayed the same here for them. All right, going down here. So these numbers in the pink shaded cells, this is for their joint JV, right? So that's Bears, Alvarez, and Chief, I believe, sites that they have there. So I added in here those miners, the A1466 miners, about, how many did I add in here? About 8,350 or so. And that means that they have 8,350 left to install, I believe, because I had that. Yeah, I forgot to change that. So I need to change that to 8,000 because I did half, I believe, on it. 8,350. Yeah, okay. So that should be correct now. That got us, I have them in mining in about 20 days for those. The rest of the machines that they have for their self-mining, which is Odessa, I had everything running about 25 days out of the month here. So they did get power credits like they said they did on it. I also added about 1.1 million here in Bitcoin transaction fees for them based on what they reported as Bitcoin being mined here. And let's see. That got us to owned to 8.6, right? They have 7 exahash that's for Odessa, which is 100% owned by them. And they have about 3.2 exahash in Alvarez, Bears, and Chief. But they only get a percentage of that. They get, what's the percentage there? 49% of that is theirs. So that's how I was able to calculate what they actually have owned combined with the JV and everything else. All right, so that gets us up to here. So that came out to be, what was it? 11.2 million here in revenue for them on it. And based on the numbers here, sorry, I keep scrolling up and down. But based on what I'm seeing here right now, I think they should be between 535 and 803. They're currently at 472. I still think that they're slightly undervalued, right? And then if you look at the institution side of things, I mean, institutions are pretty close. I'm a little bit lower than the institutions here. I have them at 8. They have them at 9 for the highest side and 5 on the low side. And that's kind of where I have them as well. So looks like we're in sync here with those numbers at least. But overall, the good thing is that they are continuing to add on more hash rate. They're building out Black Bear, I think it's Black Pearl site in Texas as well. That's not going to be coming online until 2025 sometime. And they're going to be installing newer machines as well and swapping out for some of the older ones that they have here. And I'm guessing it's going to be some of these 88 terahash miners that they're going to be swapping out here when those machines do come in here, which are these, let's see, your Delivery Q4 2024 and these Ant Pro miners as well. All right, so those are supposed to come in sometime in that time frame, Delivery Q4. Yeah, so they'll have some hash rate happening at that point, but they're going to be taking off some machines here, which I think like are these red ones here potentially. Maybe we'll have to find out when they do report it. Okay, so that's it for Cipher. Cipher, like I said before, good operations, really good cost of power as well. They just need to have more growth. I think this year, if they can do that, that'd be great. But they, depending when they get built out in 2025, I don't think they're going to miss the majority of the bull run. I think they'll miss some of it, but maybe not the really FOMO part of it. I don't think they're going to miss that, maybe, depending when they get built out and get installed. All right, but that is it for Cipher. Let's take a look at Cleanspark here really quick as well. So Cleanspark reported their June updates as well for Bitcoin mining, and here's what we have from them. So the company achieved and exceeded its mid-year target of 20 exahash in operational hash rate as a result of its previously announced acquisition of 5 new Bitcoin mining sites in Georgia. The 60 megawatts of infrastructure from these sites included interruptible load designated power purchase agreements with load balancing capabilities, a unique benefit for utility providers and power grid. We reached a tremendous milestone on our path to 50 exahash and beyond. Surpassing 20 exahash in our operational hash rate is more than double our hash rate from December, said Zach Bradford, CEO. Doubling our hash rate takes grit and teamwork, and our growth is a testament to the dedication of our teams. And it is. They've done a fantastic job here in the last 6 months, even a year. You could say they were a little bit behind on their mark to get to where they wanted to get to by the end of 2023. But they got there within like a month and a half. So that's pretty good there as well. And, they're one of the ones that have been like one of the most constant to reach their goals and targets and things like that. So I think we're in pretty good shape for them possibly to reach their targets as well by the end of this year to get to 32 exahash. Okay, but here's a Bitcoin mining update: 445 BTC mined. Total Bitcoin holdings now 6,591. They only sold 8 Bitcoin here, and their current hash rate is at 20.4 exahash right now. Growth update here. So they closed acquisition of the 5 turnkey sites in Georgia, providing 60 megawatts of immediately available data center infrastructure. Once fully deployed, sites will add 3.7 exahash total hash rate. As of June 30th, approximately 1.7 exahash have been deployed, with additional hash rate expected to come online in July. So that's pretty good there, meaning that we're going to get another maybe, 2 exahash growth in there. So that would get them to about 22.4. We'll see if they can maybe get closer to 23, maybe. We'll see. And then the Dalton expansion concrete pours for both building slabs have been completed and transformers have been set. When the full expansion is operational, the Cleanspark's Dalton campus, which consists of 4 independent data centers, is expected to operate at 2.4 exahash. The company expects this 15 megawatt expansion to be completed in September of 2024. So we got some growth in July here, which we're in right now, another maybe 2 exahash or so. And then we'll see how much more we get in August, and then probably some in September. So if we can get too close to maybe being at like 25, 26 exahash by that time, then they would have only about 6 exahash left to get installed within the next, October, November, like 3 months or so, to get to 32 exahash by the end of the year. So I think it's doable. Okay. Excuse me, I had to take a sip of water. My throat's starting to get dry. But let's get into the numbers that I do have here for Cleanspark. Then we'll get into your Q&A side of things here. So Cleanspark, last reported, had 227 million shares outstanding. Stock price, I did not update this. I should have updated this, but I haven't updated the stock price for these guys. This is from yesterday, so 1792. They had about a 4 billion market cap there. Their performance also hasn't been that great over the last 12 weeks. They're down 18% from 12 weeks ago, up 2.4% from 8 weeks ago, up 2.4% from 4 weeks ago, and they were down last week 7.75% as well. But they had a huge run up here in the beginning of the year, right, which was pretty much from, December, January, February, March. They had a nice run up there. They were one of the top performers here. And they're in second place for market cap right now as it is. So not too worried about that. They just had a little bit of a cooling period maybe. But currently they have 20.4 exahash, future hash rate 50 exahash, right? Hash rate left 30 exahash, so they have plenty of growth going forward. They're currently 40% operational, hash rate growth left 147%. Bitcoin HODL 6,591. That's valued at 434 million, and that's 10% of their market cap right now. Each share has about $1.91 of HODL in it, if you look at it that way. Production here, 417 in May. Nice increase here to 445 in June. And the monthly revenue here increased to 29.33 million from 27.19. Bitcoin HODL, I mean, look at this. From last June last year, right? They had 529. They increased that like crazy here going into June. If you remember, I think I did a video maybe even like a year ago, maybe a little bit plus. I said where the miners could possibly get to with HODL. And I think I had Cleanspark getting like to 4,000 or 5,000, something like that before the HODL or before the halving event. And it actually came to fruition. I didn't think it was going to happen, but they did. I was surprised by that they were able to HODL that much. But that's good because once Bitcoin goes up to 150,000 or more, that's going to be valued a heck of a lot more, right? For them, for Marathon, for Riot, for Bitfarms, for Hot 8 as well. All those guys that have a huge HODL and Cipher as well. That will be tremendous value to them. Hash rate, nice continued growth here, right? We were kind of flat here last year in October, November, December, into January. And then we had this huge growth here in February. A little bit of growth in March, April, continuation of growth, May, same thing. And now June as well. We had about 2.4 exahash here in June alone. So that was huge there. Bitcoin, how much they've been selling here. As you can see for the last, 6 months or so, they've been selling just barely any on that one. And then BTC per exahash efficiency, really efficient, 21.8 here. What else do we have here? Bitcoin sold value, not much, right? 500,000 there sold. If we look at institutions and analysts, that did increase a little bit here to 329 for them. And then the shares increased to 109 million as well. So that's 48.51% of their shares are now owned by institutions, it looks like. And then we still have 2 strong buy ratings, 3 buy ratings, 1 hold rating, 0 underperform, 0 sells. Price target $30 for the high, average for $26.40, and then the low is still 22, or actually went up to $22. So those have increased for them. Now, as far as the miners here, the miners that I think are going to be coming offline here when they do, because they do have orders in place to get to like 56 if they held on to the older miners. But I think these ones in red here, which equate to about 6 exahash of old machines, I think those will be coming offline here as they transition those over onto it. And I'll probably start taking some of these older miners out here as we continue to go forward here, I believe, and adding more of these newer miners that they do have down here as well. But here's what we got. So for the month of June, I had them operating for pretty much 29 days, and then like 3 days on average here for the new machines that came on board. Right, they reported that they were at 20 exahash on Friday, which is like 3 days left in the month of June. So that's kind of what I used there, round number. But I also added about 2.7 million in Bitcoin transaction fees for them as additional revenue here. That got us to the 29.325 million here, which is great. That's kind of what we're at right now on it. And based on that and my numbers here, I have them between $15 and $22. They're kind of in the middle here right now at $17.92. I think they're kind of fairly valued right now, but they're not really being valued for the future hash rate that much right now. And some other miners are actually getting valued more. Right, and we talked about that in yesterday's video. So if you want to see that, take a look at that in yesterday's video where we talked about the enterprise value per exahash on all of these miners here. And we'll do that in maybe every other video or something like that. We'll take a look at it. But since I didn't update the pricing on these guys today, that data is going to be the same as we saw yesterday. But I can still show it to you guys. Let me see here. If we look at it really quick, where's my enterprise? I've got too many sheets here. No, enterprise metrics. There we go. So here you can see Cleanspark currently is only being valued at 167 million, right? Cipher 144 million. Whereas you're getting HUT 223 million, TeraWolf 217. But if you look at future hash rate going forward, you can see that Cleanspark is way down here at 67 million. Iris is actually, IREN is better valued on it currently to 71 million. Bitfarms way down there as well. Cipher's kind of in the middle. I expect these guys that are down here like Riot, Bitfarms, Cleanspark, IREN, potentially CORZ as well to kind of flip these that are over here like TeraWolf, BitDeer, HUT 8 going into the bull run potentially. That's kind of what I'm thinking might happen. Okay. But that is it. Overall, what do I think of Cleanspark? I mean, you guys know about Cleanspark. I've been in Cleanspark for a long time, since, gosh, basically the beginning of 2022. I've been dollar cost averaging into it for a long time. I'm still up on it right now, way up. I still own a bunch of shares in them. And I'm up. I'm down a little bit from where I was in the high, which was over 400%, but I'm still really close to that right now. And I think once we start getting more into the bull run with Bitcoin starts going up higher, this one will do very well. My conservative estimate for where Cleanspark could possibly go in this bull run is around like $70. Right, we'll see if it can get there. So I think there's still plenty of upside potential with it. And yeah, I'm still bullish on Cleanspark going forward. There was one other thing. I don't think I mentioned it here. Let's see, was it in here? They mentioned it someplace. Where was it? I think it was maybe up here. Oh, here we go. While our peers are exploring other avenues of income, we're laser focused on delivering results and increasing our Bitcoin mining hash rate and associated revenues. We continue to maximize efficiency at our existing sites and look forward to the opportunities ahead of us in Wyoming and Tennessee. So they're kind of putting a little jab on the companies that are looking into HPC, AI, things like that. I know they're pretty, I wouldn't say they're set in their ways. I mean, right now they're kind of set in ways and being the best Bitcoin miner, and I can appreciate that. But maybe eventually, I think maybe down the road, if they get approached by a customer that's going to say, it's going to be a lucrative deal for them for an extended period of time, I think maybe at that time they might switch their stance on this a little bit. But right now, they're just tucking up their own Bitcoin mining, right, which is good. They have great operations, so no worries there. All right. Let's get into your guys' Q&A side of things. But as always, you guys know the drill. My little sales pitch here to everyone. Patreon members get access to all my spreadsheets. It's $8 a month there. Might be some spots open at $5 and $4. The link for that is in the description of each video. If you guys want to take part in that, you also get access to the Discord server, which is our private Discord server there. And we have a lot of great people putting in their 2 cents, their advice, their tips, and things like that, which is a really great community there. But that is it. Okay, let's get into the Q&A side of things, and we'll call it a day. So let's see if you guys have any questions already popping up here, or if I need to give you guys a couple seconds. Always, this is delayed, so when you do provide your question in there, it's going to take me a little bit to get to them all. So please be patient. I will get to your question eventually. All right. Let's see. Okay. See, there's a pop-up. Good evening, Seb. Seems to me that based on daily volumes, that Riot has started dumping Bitfarms to hurt the stock. Thoughts? It could be a possibility there. Do they have to report it if they are selling shares and if their percentage is decreasing? What is the reporting requirement on that? I guess I would like to know. Do they have to report it after, a couple of days or something like that? I'm not sure. Let's see. Or it could be Bitfarms selling more shares to dilute. Yeah, I mean, that could be also. Let's see. Thoughts on Bit Digital's overall approach of sacrificing owned infrastructure assets to better meet future highly customizable demand of HPC clients. I mean, what Sam said, there's quite a bit of merit to it, I think, right? You don't want to pigeonhole yourself into one system or one location, things like that. But he did say that they are looking to buy infrastructure, right? That they are pretty close on making maybe a deal there with one site, and then being flexible enough to go, okay, right? Not everybody's going to want to be based in the United States. If we can be flexible, we can find good partners in overseas and things like that. Well, I think that makes sense, right? You don't want to just lock yourself into one thing. So I'm okay with it. I think that's pretty good. Let's see, David says Fanny. So Fanny Phillip is showing her value with HPC AI play. Do you like her for the next CEO? I think she has a great background in it. Wouldn't mind seeing her as the CEO. We'll have to see what she does on the board going forward, but she's got the credentials to do it possibly. So, yeah. Cleanspark said at one of their investor things, if mining companies are changing to HPC, they must be bad at mining. Terrible take. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that statement. I mean, I think they're just kind of hardcore pressed on being the best Bitcoin miner, right? And they really have been doing a really great job. I mean, if we look at my metrics here over the last year on the average, if we look at the averages, right, we do the monthly metrics for the miners. And if you average their scores out for the last 12 months, like month after month, they've been scoring like as a top miner here. So, I mean, they can definitely boast about that. But I don't know if you're calling other miners being bad miners. I don't think that's the case because you do have IREN, which is also a really great miner. And they also are playing with the HPC side of business. I think you can do possibly both. The more I learn about HPC and the way it works and the things that you can do with it, as long as we have the demand there for it and the customers, I think it might not be a bad play for some of these guys here. And possibly for all of them, actually. Let's see. Stock pumped after IREN announced their 2024 expansion is fully funded and shared their business update highlight cash. That's right. That's what happened there. Thank you for reminding me. That was from yesterday. We talked about it too. Right. And I talked about it then. So thank you for reminding me. Yeah. So they reported yesterday that they are fully funded to get to 30 exahash by the end of the year. They still have some cash left over to fund some growth into 2025 as well. So yes, that is possibly why the stock pumped today. We saw that also with Cleanspark when they reported they are fully funded to, I think at that time it was like 20 exahash or something like that. Let's see. I doubt Bitfarms would pull on the ATM at these prices. They don't need cash right now. They could still pull a little bit on it. I don't know. You never know with them. Let's see here. David says, one of my concerns with Bitfarms is they have the same market cap now as they did at the last all-time high in April 2021, and it was $7 per share. That's a ton of dilution, and if Riot pushes them to dilute more, geez. Yeah, but you also have to think we're still early in the bull run, right? So I expected them to be much higher from where they are right now, if we really think about it. Let's see. Miners have a 4-year cycle up and down because of predictable halving event, right? So what stocks would you invest in after this bull run? What stocks do you think are also predictable? I mean, there's usually, what do they, I used to listen to CNBC a lot, but they used to say that there's cyclicals in stocks, right? Gosh, I can't remember which ones they said now, but I know you could get into some stable stocks, or not stable. What do they call those? I can't remember now. But there's stocks you can get into that are like staple stocks, right? Like Procter & Gamble, some of those other ones, food stocks, Coca-Cola, things like that. You can get into those. But if we have a nice bull run this time around, let's say the bull run ends sometime in 2025, right? we'll have basically a year of maybe a bear market afterwards, right? A year something, potentially, if we have the same kind of cycle as we had before. But if the cycle is different, oh gosh, see, that's where I don't know if the cycle is going to be different or not. Right now, I'm kind of thinking it might be, but I'm not sure. But let's just say that we do have a bear market, right? So we have another bear market. We go down for another year or something like that after that. So we're looking at possibly, again, in 2027, right? 2026 would be a bear market. 2027, we would start maybe to finally going back up a little bit here. And that's possibly when I would start buying back into the miners again, somewhere around 2027 again. And then dollar cost averaging for the next, what did I do it? I did it for almost 2 years, right? 2020, 2023. Yeah, so almost for 2 years at dollar cost averaging because I just didn't know where the bottom was going to be. So I'd probably repeat that process again. Is Hive a good buy at $3.14? How high can it go if Bitcoin goes to 150,000? If Bitcoin goes to 150,000, you're looking at roughly 2.5x on Bitcoin. So at that point, we're looking at like 5 to maybe 6x possibly for Hive, right? As long as they continue to grow and do all the right things. I said, what is the news on Bitfarms CEO? What is the hold up? Nearly 12 exahash in the stock, barely moves with what is up? Well, it could be like somebody mentioned in the comments earlier. It could be Riot selling some shares there. When the news on CEO, I mean, they said they were close to getting a CEO. So, I mean, the thing with the Riot hostile takeover is going to be tough for them to get a new CEO, right? I've said this before. If you're looking to get an employment with somebody, right, at a CEO position and you see that they're going to be possibly getting bought out by a hostile takeover, you may not be as keen on taking that job, and maybe you'll take a job that has maybe a little bit more job security, right? So I think it might be having an effect there as well. Do you like IREN and moving to CORZ? Do you like selling IREN and moving into CORZ? Gosh, I don't know. Tough choice there. CORZ doesn't have a lot of their revenue until middle of 2025, right, from the CoreWeave deal. The warrants should get exercised here, I think, within like a week or so, possibly. At that point, they would be able to pay off their debt and get a bunch of cash in. At that point, I think they could also swap out some of the older machines that they do have for newer ones and increase their hash rate to possibly 30 exahash, which Adam has said before as well. If they can do that, they would be in line with kind of where IREN's going to be at that point. But plus, they're going to have a much bigger customer. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one there. I think they both had a really huge run up here recently. So let's take a look at them here really quick. Let's see what we show on buy data at least to see where they're both stacking up right now. So let's take a look at Core. I mean, Core right now, this is before the warrants are exercised, right? I'm between $19.35 and $29.03. They're at $9.85. I think that they're still slightly undervalued on that. But if you fully dilute them, right, to about 400 million shares at that point, divide this by half, and they're then at, $9.70 some cents. On the low end, on the higher end, there would be roughly, around $14 or something like that. So I think they're still slightly undervalued based on that, or close to being fairly valued. And then once you start adding into the revenue for the CoreWeave next year, then I would say that they would probably still be undervalued from here, because that's going to be a huge contributor to them going forward, and Bitcoin goes up. So that's kind of where Core is right now for me. IREN, if we look at IREN right now, IREN is pretty well valued right now based on just what we're seeing here. They're at between 988 and 1481. They're at 1262 as of yesterday. They went up a little bit more today as well, another 14%. So it's tough to say. I don't know which one's going to be a better bet going forward. I think IREN could possibly get to like $80 potentially. With Core, I just don't know. Because a lot of their growth, like I said, is going to be in 2025, or the revenue is going to be in 2025. So that's a tough one for me right now to figure out where they could possibly go on that. So it's your call on that one. Let's go back into the Q&A side of things. Okay. What's your take on the difference between IREN and Riot on the stock-based compensation? IREN reported, what was it, like 3 million shares, I think it was, right, in their SEC filing. And Riot came in at like another, 12 million, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the heck's going on with Riot, and they're just giving out the company to everybody. Not sure. Definitely don't like what Riot's doing there with all the stock-based compensation. Let's see. How do you justify buying Bitfarms? I get the potential to go up, but what are the odds of that at this point when Paraguay is also looking to up their electrical charges for crypto miners? I mean, you're always hearing some kind of FUD from Paraguay, whether it's a Bitcoin mining ban. Now they're trying to get more money from the miners as well. It still has to go through the government process and everything else. I don't think it's going to go anywhere because it's just going to be hurting them. I mean, we saw the opposition to that state, right? You increase it, you're going to basically drive Bitcoin miners out. You're not going to get the investments from those companies where you now have Bitfarms, Marathon in there as well, possibly others looking to get in there as well. And they're making more on selling the energy to them than they would be to selling it to their neighbors, right? So it's kind of, I think it's just somebody with a big mouth there trying to make a name for themselves, potentially. I don't see that happening. How would you feel about Bitfarms being acquired or merging with an AI company? Depending on the AI company, I guess, how much backing they have. And then, yeah, I guess it would depend on who it is. And then what would their plans be with the company? Would they shut down the Bitcoin mining portion of it and just concentrate on the AI? You know, it would depend on a lot of things here, but I don't see that happening, at least not anytime soon. Hello, Seb. Do you think Bitfarms has bottomed at 250? It seems there's a big resistance at 250. Let's take a look at Bitfarms here really quick. Let's see what's going on here. Let me go back to my screen here for you guys. So here's Bitfarms chart. Let's zoom in on it really quick here. Where did it bottom out today? It bottomed out. It came to a low of 248. It might, right? It might, but still might come back down here. Let's see. I don't have any support lines drawn on it. But we can see, let's see here. We can see some support here at, what is it, 223 on the volume chart here, right around there. So that's around 226, large support there. We do have some support here as well, around 247. Not much, but we have more support here between 232 and it seems like, and 218 potentially. And then we've had quite a bit of support here as well at 290, but that broke through it. So we'll see. I think any dip is a gift here in the meantime when we do get those. I just wish I had more cash to buy into it right now. But I will have more cash next week. I will be buying into it. So honestly, I'm hoping that it comes down a little bit more here so I can buy more before it starts going back up. But that's kind of my thought on it. We'll see how it plays out. Okay. Rendell asks, do you sell and take profits or hold your miners for the next cycle if you're not worried about paycheck for the next 4 years? No, I will sell this time around. I made the mistake of not selling the last cycle, right? Everybody was saying Bitcoin's going to 100,000. Never really happened. We got stuck at 69,000 and everything was pulling back down. So lesson learned on that one. I will be taking profits. Plus, this time around, they're going to be a lot more sizable profits potentially than last time, because I've just been putting as much money as I can into the miners here this cycle from everything that I've learned over the last 2 cycles. So, yeah, I'll be taking profits. David says, I pulled a Seb as he did with Cleanspark, sold my original position in Wolf at 520 today to buy Hive at 302. Hive is, in my opinion, the most undervalued. Riot and Bitfarms are close, though. Yeah, I mean, Hive is definitely way undervalued for where it is compared to its peers. And the only reason I can think that the reason is for that is because they don't have a lot of growth for this year, at least not announced, right? So that's kind of where it's at, but I think it should be valued much more. Hey, so according to document filed by Bitfarms on the SEC website, at 14.9% of the shares, Riot have a sole voting power of 61 million shares. What does voting power of that value really mean? That I don't know. So 14.9%, so 61 million shares, and there's what, about 400 million shares out. So that's, what is that roughly? I'll have to run the math on it. 60 of 400. What is that? Hold on, let me look at my calculator here really quick. 60 divided by 400. You get about 15. Well, that's about 15%. Yeah. That's basically what they're at, 50% of the company. What could make Bitfarms have a similar run to Wolf or IREN? Getting a CEO, getting Riot off their back as well, because I do think they have the growth plan that everybody's looking for, right? They're now talking about 35 exahash next year as well. So they do have really good growth here, and they're going to be keeping up with the big guys here as well, right? With maybe not Cleanspark. Mara's looking to get to 50, so is Cleanspark. But like Riot's also quite high up there. But you're looking at the ones like IREN, right, way up there. You're looking at Cipher potentially where they want to go into 2025 as well. Cipher, Wolf, and then CORZ as well. So they're keeping up with the big boys there. So they should get appreciated for that. But it's just a flood right now around the stock, which is great. I mean, well, it's not great, right? We want the stock to go up, but it's great if you're trying to buy more of the shares of it. Let's see. Have you considered any scenario where having a long-term play on the miners would be plausible? And if so, what would that be? The only way that would work out is if we have a completely different cycle than we've had in the past, right? And the only way that might happen is because we've had the halving event where this time around we actually reached a new all-time high right before the halving event, which never happened because of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. If the spot Bitcoin ETFs put in the same amount of demand on Bitcoin as we saw with gold when those came out, the ETFs for gold, and gold had like a 4 or 5 year bull run at that point. Well, then if that happens, then I could see a scenario where it might make sense to hold on to miners for that for an extended period of time at least. But we'll have to see what happens with this cycle. Let's see. Do you know what time the ETFs buy or sell Bitcoin? Is it typically a day in areas to process the sales buys based on the ETFs inflows and outflows? I think it's the following morning that the buys happen, I think. So whatever we get on Monday will show up on typically Tuesday's buy sheet, and then whatever happened on Fridays, I think shows up on Mondays, I think something like that. I think that's the way it works. Have we started seeing reduced efficiencies due to summer months in Northern Hemisphere, maybe Bitfarms being in winter? 62, okay. I haven't really seen anything. Cleanspark had really good efficiencies. Bitfarms said that they were done because of storms and things like that for a little bit, so they had some issues there. We'll have to see what Riot comes in at with their numbers, right? Usually Riot's based in Texas. Anybody that's based in Texas, we saw, I can't remember where Cipher is located. I know they're building out Black Pearl, which is in Texas, but I don't know where the other sites with Odessa, Bear, Chief, and the other one, I can't remember now. I can't remember where those are located, if they're in Texas also. So they did curtail a little bit there. They were down to 25 days out of the 30, so we're seeing a little bit there. But we'll see what the other ones, what they report. Andrea says 2026 Tesla should soar. Tesla did pretty good at least yesterday and today. I think it did pretty good. Sena asks, how are we early? Well, we're early still in the cycle, I think. We just had the halving event 2 months ago now. So I think we're still early. Usually Bitcoin peaks typically between 12 and 18 months after the halving event. So that's why I'm saying we're early. Hi, Seb, is there a minimum tier level needed for the data center to support HPC? Will the company lose money if they use it for Bitcoin mining? Okay, so let's first cover the first question on that. So there's different tiers of requirement for the data centers that are needed for HPC AI, right? If you're doing inference, you need like a tier 3, tier 4 data center. If you're doing just large language models, things like that, you could possibly get away with a tier 1, which is what a lot of these guys have. And IREN has been building out these kind of infrastructures to support both HPC and Bitcoin mining if they wanted to. Right, so they do that already. So that's kind of the way it differs there. And then will the company lose money if they use it for Bitcoin mining? Well, you need a contract in order to have money from the HPC side of business, right? So if you're using that, usually, gosh, I don't know. I guess you probably don't want to have don't want to use up all your megawatts there for HPC. You want to use a portion of it. And then if you have a contract in place, you're making money on it anyways, right? So it doesn't really matter. At the bull run, I think maybe Bitcoin's going to be a little bit more profitable, but it's usually for a shorter period of time, so only a couple months, right, where you have a contract with the HPC customer. You're looking possibly for a longer time frame, a couple of years. IREN has customers right now that are like shorter time frame, about 3 to 6 months, right? So it depends on the contract that you have there. I guess there's a lot of variables that go into it. Let's see, how much is IREN owned by institutions? Let's take a look at my sheet here. This is as of Going to be as of May numbers. I haven't updated IREN yet for June because they haven't reported the June numbers yet. But as of May numbers, we had them at 39 million shares, 120 institutions. That was about 31.78% of the company being owned by institutions at that time. We'll see what those numbers look like when we update it here. Okay, so that's kind of what we're seeing right now. They've had a nice run up in institutions getting into them. Okay, let's see. Let's say 2025 is a bear market from now until 2027, 2028 next halving. So would this channel cover in the next 3 years period? Would you also share with us what other stocks you invest next 3 years? I mean, yeah, so I'm going to continue to cover the miners here, see where things go, right? If we get another bear cycle, great. I'd love to rinse and repeat this. If we don't, we'll see what's going on with the markets, where miners are going, where Bitcoin's going. All that stuff is going to be very interesting. But if I get into something else, so if I sell sometime this year, next year, right, I get out, I'll take profits, I will be in cash at that point. I may invest in some real estate a little bit, just kind of diversify a little bit. And then at that point, we'll see where things go from there. But we'll see if I can find anything that's interesting to take a look at. But we'll still cover the miners here, see where they're going, see how much they're going down. And you could also short the miners if you wanted to. If you believe the Bitcoin's going down into a bear market, you could short them, right? And make money on it that way. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll try that out this time around. I've never done shorting on a stock, so I don't like to do that. I like to be down in companies when they're going down, but it's money. So we'll see. Maybe we'll try that. The Bitfarms and Cleanspark are no longer aggressive. Any idea why is that? I hope we don't have 2 new riots in the making. I don't know where you're getting that they're not aggressive. They had targets, right? Cleanspark had pretty audacious targets with 50 exahash. I don't know if they're planning to still get that to this year. I'm guessing it's probably not until 2025. But the miners that they purchased are supposed to be delivered this year to get to 50 exahash. So we'll see if they surpass the 32 exahash targets that they have here for this year. As far as Bitfarms has really good growth targets from where they were. They were at like 6 exahash, 5 exahash. And they said they're going to 21 exahash. It's basically a 4x for them, right? So I think they're still pretty aggressive in their growth targets. Plus, they bought releasing facilities in Pennsylvania, I believe, for Bitfarms. And they're talking about possibly doing HPC AI as well. So I think they're still very aggressive there. I don't think that's the reason for them. Let's see, any reason for IREN jump last 2 days, going to catch Riot for number 3 market cap soon? The reason it jumped was we talked about it in yesterday's video. IREN provided they're fully funded to 30 exahash this year and have some cash left over to get to maybe some more growth next year as well. All right, we saw the same thing happen with Cleanspark when they provided they were fully funded to 20 exahash at that time, and the stock took off like crazy as well. So we're kind of seeing the same thing happening here. Do you think Riot may collude with institutions to vote against current Bitfarms board or directors, since I think most Bitfarm retails shareholders will likely vote against Riot? Yeah, I mean, they could try to garner favor with institutions, possibly. We don't know if they're not. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. I don't know if we'll be able to tell. I guess we can I don't think we'll see who votes which way. But we'll see. Let's see. Woodstock says Bitfarms is trading 26 million shares daily. That's a pretty good volume there. Do you think the large amount of shares out of Bitfarms is hurting the volatility of the stock? No, I don't think so. I think it's better to have more shares out there. It's less likely that it's going to get manipulated potentially. Let's see. Can we see IREN? Can we see $20 IREN by the end of this month? Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, what are they at? $14 right now? 15? Let's see, where are they? Yeah, they're $14.39 right now. By the end of the month, depending where Bitcoin goes, Bitcoin starts going up to like closer to 70, 75,000. It might be possible. I wouldn't put it out of the question there on it. Let's see. Bitfarms will be 12 exahash by end of July. Right now at only 8.5, and will be curtailed for July, August because of the heat in Texas. Yeah, so that's why we need to see operations from Riot, right? How much are they curtailing because of the heat? With the emergent cooling, they shouldn't be curtailing if they have access to all the power they need. And as long as, Jason stated there that with the new facility, they don't plan on it curtailing more than like 5 to 7%. I think it was maybe even 3 to 5%. I can't remember exactly. But it's a really low number, percentage of the time a year, right? So they should have all the power that they need. They just need to have better operations, more uptime, and we'll see if we get that. If we don't get that, that's not going to be a good sign for Riot. Let's see. IREN 20 million daily, Cleanspark 26 million, Marathon 47 million shares daily. Yeah, I mean, Marathon is still like the big dog here in the space. They've been around for quite a while. Plus, they have the name recognition, right? So that always helps them. See, it seems that the only thing that will move Riot is Bitcoin moving up potentially as well. But Bitcoin has been going up and Riot has been coming down as well. Let's see. James on Invest answers on YouTube is very bullish on Tesla for the long term, as is Kathy Woods. Yes, I think the stock has been beaten down from where it really should be. I mean, Tesla's not just a car company. They are so many different things in there in one company. You got basically AI play with them. You got robotics. You got artificial intelligence, AI side of things, self-driving, robo-taxis, insurance, probably missing things, semi-trucks, right? So there's all this stuff that's going on there that the company is going to be doing going forward. And I think there's just huge potential there potentially as well. So that might be one I get into as well. But that won't be until I take profits in the miners, because right now I'm out of cash. Let's see. What else do we have here? Santa says, somebody with big mouth trying to make a name for themselves. Seb's my hope PM for Bitfarms, so I'm loaded. I needed to hear that. Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, so that's what I was talking about, the government there potentially raising rates on power. Yeah. Seb, do you think we see 100 at the end of the year, and how do you see this playing out? What's the catalyst? Will you still be holding at that point? Yeah, I think Bitcoin's going to be going higher than that. I think 100,000 is not too far off. I mean, we're in July now. We're at 60-some thousand. It's not too far off to get Bitcoin to rip. All you need is a couple of days, couple trading days of like 10% gains, and I mean, you're gonna be close to that number really quick. So yeah, I think we might be close to it. I don't know exactly where we're gonna be, but I think maybe we might be even higher than that. I don't know, but I think we might be close. My estimate for Bitcoin this cycle is 180,000, right? That's kind of where I'm thinking. I could be wrong on that, but that's kind of what I've just saw with the numbers going back to the last cycles and where it possibly could go based on X multiples, percentage gains from previous cycles, and things like that. Let's see. Agree on Bitfarms or BitDigital take. Sam mentioned closing on a new facility plus 2 soon to be additional AI clients. Seems like 3 obvious catalysts that aren't priced in yet, plus ETH staking and ETFs. Yeah. I think they are undervalued also from where they really should be, but they're not being valued on their Bitcoin mining, or I guess you could say even their AI or HPC side of the business. And I think the only reason for that is they don't own infrastructure. I think that's the only real reason there. I can't think of anything else why they're not getting valued for it. Let's see. Hey, Goat, once a company announces an ATM, how long can they wait to use it? Does it expire? Thanks. And any word on Gigawatt? No, I haven't taken a look at the Gigawatt. Sorry. I do have it written down here. I just been busy with my wife and kids flew out today. So I've been busy trying to help them pack everything else and doing stuff for you guys and work also. So I have not had a chance to take a look at it, but I will have time coming up this week to take a look at it. As far as an ATM, how long can they hold on to it? I think it's indefinite unless they actually report to the SEC that they're done with it or they need to remove it or something like that, right? I think Cleanspark had one just a couple months ago where they had to report it as being closed or something like that because the SEC actually reached out to them and said, hey, are you going to use this ATM or not? If you're not, you need to close it, cancel it, whatever you got to do to it. So I think you can hold it on to it for quite a while. Unless you don't use it, then the SEC might actually come back to you and go, hey, do something with this. Let's see. Which BTC cycle do you think has been the most bullish? Which BTC cycle? I mean, every cycle. I mean, gosh, we went from 0 to 1,000, from 1,000 to 19,000, from 19,000 to 69,000, and then where are we going to go from now, right? So I think every cycle has been pretty bullish. What are your thoughts about IREN dipping and to where? I think right now IREN's possibly in price discovery right now, especially being that they put out yesterday that they are fully funded to get to 30 exahash this year for all Bitcoin miners and infrastructure. That's a huge positive, and they have cash on hand right now. So I think that's going to drive the stock up more here recently, I think, because of that. I don't know exactly where it's going to end up going to, but at that point, once it gets there, I think we will have a pullback on it. Let's see. Okay. Hive year-end earnings report scheduled July 8th. I thought they already provided their year-end report. Then that already came out for Hive. That's why it was taking a while for it to come out. I think you're maybe talking about, is it Q1? No, because that was including in Q1, I think. That's why it's taking them so long. Yeah, because Q1 ended in January, March. March was the end of it. And then they just released it like a week ago or something like that. So I think that was there. I'm not sure what July 8th is going to be. Let's see. With countries all over the world introducing austerity measures, do you see a big enough bull cycle at this time? If the ETFs and their minions of sellers and pumpers that want to get fat bonuses, if they have anything to do with it, I think we will, right? They have huge incentives to do so, I think. Right, and there's a lot of money that can now flow into it that wasn't available previously. So that's the reason I'm thinking possibly could do it again. Would you say your huge win with Cleanspark has given you the leeway to make a riskier investment with Bitfarms? No, because I'm seeing the same thing with Bitfarms that I was seeing with Cleanspark, right? When nobody else was just looking at it, right? I got into it in 2022, beginning of 2022, right? When the stock was at $9, right? Nobody was looking at it. Then I'm like, these guys are doing all the right things that I'm seeing. They're doing great on metrics and things like that. I'm like, okay, I want to get into them. I just don't know where the bottom is going to be in the stock, right? So I just started dollar cost averaging into it, buying into it, just continued buying into it for basically, when did I stop buying into it? Last year, right around this time, I think is when I stopped. So it was basically for a year and a half, I was just dollar cost averaging as much as I could into it, along with Bitfarms. I was buying Bitfarms at the same rate too. Right? I was seeing the same thing for both those guys. And then I started seeing the same thing with IREN. IREN, the only reason I didn't get into it was because of the special purpose vehicles that they returned back to, gosh, what was it? And NIDIG, I think, was the loaner on those, originator on the loan. At that point, I wanted to see how does the company recover from that, because they gave back like 3 exahash of machines at that point, which is a lot, which was basically 3/4 of their hash rate or something like that. All right, so that was a huge blow to them at that point. It's like, okay, let's put a pause on them. Let's see how they do. And I waited until basically a year after that. So that was in 2022, and I started buying into them in 2023 when I see that they were starting to grow again nicely. So I saw that one too, but didn't buy it back then. So how confident are you Bitfarms can meet their exahash target this year, 10.4 to 25 in 6 months? It's not 25. It's going to be 21 is their target by the end of December this year. So if we're at 10.4, they're supposed to be at 12, which they might get installed in July, right? So if that gets to 12, we're only about 9 exahash away from that. So I think it's doable. I think they'll get close. But if they get close to that, if they get to 19, 18.5, 19 by the end of this year, and then they install the rest in like January or February, I'd be fine with that, right? That's pretty good. That's actually really good if they can do that. Do you think the pure play Bitcoin miner stock prices will be less resistant than the HPC diversified miners in the coming bear cycle? Possibly. So that's an unknown, right? We've never been through this before, where we have companies doing both Bitcoin mining and something else where it's bringing in other revenues. But if the companies like Core and BitDigital have these kind of contracts for an extended period of time, and they have that revenue coming in month after month after month, we might see less of a dip in those stocks than we would in other stocks that don't have that potentially, right? We'll have to see. Hey Seb, you said Jason's a professional poker player, but you didn't say if he was a good or bad one. I don't know if he was a good or bad one, right? I didn't follow him in his career on being a poker player, so I don't know what his stats were on that. If you have any insight into that, I'd love to hear it. What is going on with Bitfarms and Hive? Why are they not pumping? At what price of BTC they can do 15 USD? Bitfarms, I think, would have to be, for Bitcoin to be like 150,000 north of that. $15 for Hive would be probably somewhere around there also, I'm guessing on that. Let's see here. Hi, Seb. Thoughts on Sato Technologies. Small miner, a bit efficient miner, but not seeing a lot of growth from them. That's why I don't really cover them, because they're just so small. They could still do very well in this bull run, depending on where Bitcoin goes and everything else. But I like companies that have a lot of growth going forward, things that have huge ambitions, I guess you could say, to be like the top miner. I like seeing those, and I think those will do very well going forward. How can you say FUD around Bitfarms? It seems like legitimate concerns and issues around the stock. Because the reason I say it's FUD, because a lot of the stuff comes out and then it's debunked within a couple of weeks, right? So it's a lot of this kind of stuff that's being put out there. And I say the FUD with Riot also, because I don't think Riot's going to actually acquire them. I think it's just FUD right now. It's keeping the stock down. There's no reason for Bitfarms to sell to Riot. The board has said it. I've been saying it as well. It just doesn't make any sense on the number side of things. So I think there's just a lot of FUD. I mean, there are valid concerns as well, right? Riot trying to buy them out, and there's no CEO. Those are all valid concerns, but I think it's also what you would call slightly FUD in there as well. Hi, Seb, at what point would you lose conviction in Bitfarms? I guess what point would that be? If they can't find a CEO here within the next, I would say maybe by the end of Q3, right? If they can't find somebody within 3 months here, I don't know if I'm going to lose total conviction in Bitfarms. The other one would be if if Ben leaves the company for whatever reason. That might be a little bit of a warning sign. We'll have to see things. Things like that. Other than that, I think right now we just got to get past all the stuff that's going on right now. Yeah. Do you think there will eventually be a doomsday for the miners when mining BTC becomes extremely inefficient? No, because the way the network and the hash rate and the difficulty all work in tandem with each other, or not in tandem, but separately from each other, right? Bitcoin price goes up, it's going to raise up hash rate, it's going to raise up hash or difficulty as well, right? If Bitcoin stagnates for a period of time, the less efficient miners are going to drop out of that, because that's going to make it less efficient or less profitable for them to do it. And then so the ones that are still efficient mining, those guys are still being profitable there. So it has a great way of shaking out the kind of like the weak hands and the less efficient miners in play when Bitcoin kind of comes down in price or just stalls for a little while. Let's see. Do you think IREN could hit $20 in the next few weeks? In the next few weeks, I think it's possible, depending where Bitcoin goes there. You never make a video on Riot, and when someone asks about your answer is very short. Second, when Riot will stop dilution. Second, when Riot will stop dilutions. So the second question is when will that? I don't know. They have plenty of cash right now, and so regarding Riot, I talk about Riot quite a bit because of Bitfarms. And when I've talked in length about the operation problems that they have there, the things that they are trying to fix also, right, which Jason came on with Bryce and Anthony on their show. This was going back 2 months. I said that was a great interview that they did. There was a great response from Jason. I thought he was very honest and candid about their operations. And that was a nice thing to see, right? So they know that they have issues. They just need to fix those issues, get much better uptime, and continue to increase their hash rate, and they'll do great going forward. But that's the only thing that's kind of, I think, keeping the stock down right now. And we'll see when they do report the monthly update here for June, what those figures look like for them at that point. All right? Have they improved their operation? Have they improved their uptime as well? If they did that, I think that's going to be a good thing. But I talk about a lot. Riot, I talk about a lot. Too much, probably. Andrew, thank you so much. Sebastian works hard for you guys. Please smash the like button. Greatly appreciate it. Yeah, please smash that button. I'm not a great salesperson for myself. That's why I'm not in sales. Let's see. Do you know of any resource that compares every miner company's stock-based compensation, or could you share a chart comparing all of them if available? Thanks. Oh gosh, last time I did that was probably a year ago. Probably need to update that again. I will update that eventually again. We'll go over it maybe later on this month. Let's see. Hi, Sebastian. How you doing? Let's see. What percentage of investors do you think even know about Bitcoin miners? What would it take to go mainstream? I think Bitcoin miners are still pretty niche. It's grown quite tremendously in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years, right? You have a lot more people talking about it, like myself, like Anthony, like the BTC mining guy. We have also Mike Alfred on Spaces. There's a lot more people. You have also Freedom by 40. You have, what's the other guy named? I'm drawing a blank here. Great gentleman, lawyer. He's gotten into it as well. So we have more people that are talking about it, which is spreading the news about these miners more out there, which I think is great. So I think it's getting a little bit more traction there. But the miners are also very volatile. They're proxies to Bitcoin, and a lot of people can't stomach the volatility. They can't stomach going up. Well, they can stomach probably going up 20% in a day, but they can't stomach going down 20% in a day, right? It's rough. It's tough. Let's see. Andrea says, I agree with you 100%, Sebastian, about Tesla. I just think it's worth looking into for a place to put some money at the end of the Bitcoin bull run. Yeah, I agree. I think it might be a good place depending where Tesla's at that point, right? Which might be probably maybe a year out before we get into that spot, but we'll see where Tesla's at that point. And then the other one I'm kind of thinking about is I still own a little bit of shares of Rivian, so that's another one I'm kind of thinking about to see where that thing goes. Hi, Seb, do you support the idea of Bitfarms and other companies with HPC spinning off into multiple companies to unlock shareholder value? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. I know Sam has talked about that because he just feels like his company and his stock price not being valued on the combination that they do have, right? The Bitcoin mining that they do have and the HPC side of the business. But it's also they don't own any infrastructure. I wonder if that's really what the cause there. And I could be wrong on that, but I'm thinking that's what it is. If Sam has talked about that they want to buy infrastructure, which I think is great. If they do, maybe at that point the stock is valued a little better. But I don't know if there's any benefit to splitting up the different segments into different companies potentially. I don't know if there's maybe not. Maybe he's hearing that from investment firms. I don't know. But I don't know if there's any benefit to it. Let's see. Thanks always. Is there anything to worry about Cleanspark? Still holding, in fact, most of my investments in it. Yeah, I mean, majority of my investments still in Cleanspark as well. They're like, but they're a huge percentage. They're still double what Bitfarms and like IREN is for my percentage on those. Is there anything to worry about? Not for this year. I think for them getting to 32 exahash, I think we're pretty close to having the infrastructure that we need for that. It's just a matter of them building it out, right? So I think there's a concern there. Going into next year, for them to get to 50 exahash, we'll have to see how well they can buy more infrastructure, right? So that might be the tricky part there with them. And what implications for stock-based compensation are there for dilution in stock price for each company? And what implications for stock compensation are there for dilution? Well, I mean, when you do get stock-based compensation, you get stocks, right, which dilutes the company shares. Are there dilution in the stock price for each company? We could look at that also. We can look at dilution. I track dilution too as well. I need to update that as well. But we do look at that quarterly to see where the companies have diluted over the last quarter and basically a year to date or year over year numbers. So we do look at that as well. Hi, Bitfarms says around 40 to 30 million shares. How do you expect to 3x or 5x with that huge amount of outstanding shares? Thanks. Well, I still think 3 to 5x, well, that would only get it to what? If it goes 3x, it's only 3 billion, right? That is still less than the size of Cleanspark right now. So that's why I think it's still doable from there. If you get to 4x, you're now looking at roughly 4 billion, which is now in line with Cleanspark. So if Cleanspark goes 3, 5x, something like that, can Bitfarms get there? I do think so, right? At that point, Cleanspark's going to be valued at, let's say we go 4x on it. It's going to be valued at 16 billion, right? So at that point, Bitfarms should be valued at like, at least I would think maybe even like 8 billion or something like that, potentially, right? Just based on their hash rate and where they're going compared to where Cleanspark is going. Let's see here. Oldman says, remember, folks, the 26 million shares traded doesn't mean it's all on the buy side. Maybe Riot sold 25,999,000 and our friend Seb bought 200. I didn't buy any today. I bought some shares was it last week or the week prior? I can't remember now. I think it was last week I bought some shares at that point. Hi Seb, how can you say that these miners are undervalued if most of them lose money? Depending on the accounting, if you look at the full accounting, right, where they include in there the dilution, or not dilution, but the what is that term there? I keep forgetting that term. Depreciation, right? If they use depreciation in there, they depreciate millions always on the miners, right? So that's really not a cash-based expense. I look at cash flow. What are the cash expenses and what's their cash intake, right? On that side of things, they do make money on it. So I wouldn't say that they are undervalued, especially when Bitcoin goes to 150,000, 180,000, 200,000, wherever it might go this time of the cycle. They're going to be making much more profits on that than they are right now, right? So that's why I'm saying you have to be a little bit more forward-looking on the miners than maybe more so than others, maybe. Ryan Buell says, I would love this channel to be a Let's Short the Miners channel, maybe starting around late 2025 through 2026, then bullish again sometime in 2027 before the 2028 halving event. Seems logical. It might turn into that. We'll see. Right? We'll have to see where things go, but maybe it'll turn into that. Which cycle has had the most bullish catalysts? I think it's this cycle right now. We've never had a new all-time high before the halving event, which we saw this time around, right? So I think it might be this cycle. What else do we have here? I'm catching up to you guys' questions here. What price to start layering out of Cleanspark? That's going to depend on you, where your profit is standing at. So whatever your cost basis is or cost average on them is, you might start taking profits sooner than others, depending on what your multiple is that you're up on it already. But I'm looking to possibly not start until somewhere in the 50s. That's kind of where I'm looking at. Maybe even higher. But they'll depend on where Bitcoin's going, other metrics, other things like that. Let's say hypothetically Paraguay do raise XRC rates. Would you be out at that point? It depends how much they raise it, right? If they raise it only a penny or something like that, or half a penny, that's not too bad. Right? Bitcoin going up, this wouldn't be too bad. But if they raise it 4 pennies or something like that, okay, then it's going to be tough, because I think in Paraguay they have now one of the biggest mining sites out there. So they've definitely put a lot of capital into it. And at that point, I might be out if that happens. Yes, teach us how to short. Well, I'll have to learn how to short myself at that point, because like I said, I've never shorted stocks before. I don't like to. I'm a positive person, so I like to help companies out when they're doing great or they're undervalued to do better. I don't like to beat down companies or things when they're down. But we may have to change that stance in order to grow our wealth going forward. Do you still heavily believe in Bitfarms' growth opportunity? Yes, I still do. Let's see. Riot is getting CTO on Bitfarms. That's worrying. CTO. Riot getting CTO on Bitfarms. Chief Technology Officer, talking about Ben. I did not hear anything about them. That seems like FUD. Don't be spreading FUD here on my Bitfarms here. Let's see. Sadie, again, thank you. Yeah, likes help the channel. Appreciate it. Let's see. Okay. Bitfarms has never met targets like Cleanspark and IREN has. Lots of confidence they will meet goals for Cleanspark, and IREN doesn't have the same investor confidence. IREN does. I think IREN does have the investor confidence. I'm pretty confident they're going to be able to reach it. Their goal for, what are they supposed to get to? 20 exahash by the end of September, right? And then 30 exahash by the end of the year. I think they can reach it. Bitfarms has never had, never met targets. Bitfarms has never had these kind of huge growth targets before, right? But we saw that they're getting close to their target here for June. They got close. They didn't get there, but they got close. So I think that should count for them, right? It's not going to be, you're not going to get 100% every time, right? You're always going to have a little bit of variation in when you get things installed. But as long as it's close, as long as it's not 3 months out or 6 months out, or like in Marathon's case, it was like a year out from when they said they're going to get to 23 exahash, right? That's not good. If you're only a month, month and a half, even maybe 2 months at most, I'll give you a pass on it, because there's some things that might be out of the control of the company here. So I see that as not a bad thing. Let's see here. Darren says Bitcoin's getting destroyed in the last hour. Oh, let's take a look at it. Let's see what's happening here with Bitfarm or Bitcoin. Oh yeah, it is dumping. Okay, so let's take a look at it here. So I told you guys yesterday, right? I didn't think it was gonna work out this quickly, but I did say yesterday that the RSI, we talked about it. The RSI was a little high here for where the price is compared to where the RSI was back here, where the price was actually lower, and this time, or actually, yeah, price was higher at that point. At one point, let's see, right there, the right RSI was at these levels back here, and price was actually higher at that point. Yeah, so that's why I was talking about RSI is a little high for the price. I would like to see that reverse going forward, and I said we might have a dip here, and we are having it. Yeah, we're down 1.81% on it right now. Interesting. Do we have a? I don't think we had a gap on the CME futures here. We had a slight gap here, maybe. There wasn't a big gap over the weekend here. Monday, where things started out at. We had a nice day on Monday, but then we're down here. Yeah, so a little bit of correction here going on with Bitcoin. Not a big deal. It's expected. Like I said, if this doesn't hold at 61,000, we're heading down to possibly the 200-day simple moving average here. If that doesn't hold, we're going down to 57,000 mark potentially, and then bouncing off of that, I would expect in short term. Okay. Questions. Hey Seb, for Mara to be at $30 per share, what price would Bitcoin have to be? Thanks for your thoughts. I think Bitcoin doesn't need to go too much higher. I think if Bitcoin gets to 75, 80,000, I think they get to 30,000 or $30 a share. I mean, they're close to $20 right now, I think, right? Yeah, they're 22. So you don't need that much in order for it to go up. Let's see here. I bought the dip in Bitfarms today and it kept on dipping. Yeah, I mean, that's how it was for me from 2022 all the way through 2023, most of it. Just kept buying the dips and the dips kept on coming. So sometimes you just don't know where the bottom is. Let's see. Senna says we need to get some influencers to promote these stocks. Yeah, Roaring Kitty. Man, if Roaring Kitty came out today, he's buying Bitcoin mining stocks. Holy cow. Let's see. Andrew says, BitDeer are killing it. What are your current views on BitDeer, as I know you weren't a big fan before? Yeah. For this cycle, I'm still not a huge fan right now. I don't think they have enough growth for this cycle. They do have a lot of things happening for them. So they do have the ASIC chips that they're designing and building ASIC miners from that. Good growth from that potentially as well. Then a lot of their growth is going to be into 2025 and 2026. All right, so that's the only reason why there. I haven't been a big fan of it, but we'll see. I mean, it could still do very well. I could be wrong on it. Hey, Seb, you'll need a huge amount of capital to short miners due to the volatility. Do you see yourself as the superior Roaring Kitty? No, I don't. I don't have the capital that he has. But I know you need a lot of capital to short miners. I thought you could just... I have to look more into it. Like I said, I've never shorted before, so I have to look more into it. Let's see. Bitfarms, BitDigital, or Hive, which one is the best miner to buy? Okay, this is based on operations and future growth. If we're looking at those things, I think Bitfarms is still the play to go with. If we're looking at just miners being down, BitDigital is in there, Hive is definitely in there for sure, right? If Hive comes out saying that they're getting to 10 or 15 exahash this year, that would be bullish for that stock at that point, and I think maybe at that point, Hive would be the better play there. But based on what we have right now and the news that we have on them, I would say Bitfarms is still currently the best play. Is IREN overvalued now? Insane gains since June 28th. I don't think it's overvalued. I think it's fairly valued right now, right? But it's not fairly valued for future hash rate growth. So if you look at how much they're supposed to be valued later on, we talked about this earlier in the video, they are still on the lower end side of things, whereas other miners are still on the higher end part of it, which doesn't really make sense. So I think there might be a little bit of reversal happening in the next few months potentially. Let's see here. Old Man says, good or bad poker player doesn't really matter because Bitfarms is playing chess, making all the right moves. I believe they're waiting to hire a hard-nosed fighting, itching for a fight. No worries here. Okay, yeah. What do you think likely of the Paraguay ban? There's no ban anymore. I think that's been kind of discounted and disproved there was some legislator that was trying to put a ban in place because there were illegal Bitcoin mining operations within the cities that were causing havoc on the grid, right? Because if you don't have the infrastructure there to support the mining, you're going to cause havoc because, I mean, it doesn't take much on these miners. I mean, you only need like 200 of these miners to eat up the power of like, oh, what is that possibly going to be for like 600 homes or something like that, right? So you don't need a lot of miners to cause havoc in there if you don't have the substations and the transformers and all that stuff. Do you think Ben considered for Bitfarms CEO position, or he's out of the question? I don't know if he was ever considered. I was one of the guys that posted the question that I would like to see Ben be the CEO. He's known the operations. He's known the business. He's been in business for a long time in the Bitcoin mining space. I think he would have been a great person to put in there. He's got a lot of trust with a lot of people. And I think he's been around for long enough where I think he probably deserves to be a CEO. But maybe he doesn't want to be a CEO even. So, we'll see. David says, stop buying the dip and sell puts instead. I mean, that you can play it that way too. I don't do options or puts or anything like that either. I just buy and hold. I don't have the time or the patience to see all that through. It's just easier for me to buy the dip, hold on to it for stocks that I have high conviction in. Sorry, Seb, for not very clear. I have Bloomberg access and read Riot taking Bitfarms to Ontario Tribunal to cease trading on it. Can you check the news wire, please? Yes, there was a report that came out. They were going to court last Thursday, and I think they were supposed to go into court today also. And that is not to stop trading. I believe it was for Bitfarms to not be able to use the poison pill at 15%. I think they wanted it to be the standard, whatever the standard was, 20%, I think. I think that's the case. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it was. Did Hut 8 report, release the report yet? For May? No. For June? Probably not either. I don't see them reporting, but I'll be surprised if they do. I'll just leave it at that. Let's see here. Gary says, I still believe 100x inverse marathon fund is the go-to play next bear market. Okay. Let's see. Likelihood of Paraguay increasing electrical costs. I would say very, very, very small. I would give it a 1% chance possibly, right? Because they don't want to shoot themselves in the foot and stop all this innovation and the capital inflow that's happening into the country, the work and everything else, just all the good things that are happening for it because of the Bitcoin miners. So I don't think that's going to happen. Hey, Seb, any news with IREN? They are up huge today. Yeah, they reported that they are fully funded yesterday to 30 exahash. Stock is pumping because of it. It's frustrating that IREN has a 2x the market cap of Bitfarms. What do you think will be a pump catalyst? Yeah, I think the CEO getting Riot off our back, right? And if they can just execute on their growth plan going forward, and if we really get a good CEO on there, I think that would also be great. And if the CEO is also, bullish, also if they maybe do a little bit of HPC AI business on the side as well, right? That might help things out there. But just those types of things right now, just getting some of this stuff that's been kind of keeping Bitfarms down for a while. Let's see. Seb, you're awesome. I would send my viewers to your channel, but I only have close to 100. Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. What is the latest on Riot buying Bitfarms, and could they buy Bitfarms at low price like 230? No. None of the board members are going to agree to that. I don't think any of the retail shares are going to agree to that either. I wouldn't even think that the institution would agree to that because they just have such a good growth plan going forward. So I don't think that's going to happen. Right now, everything's in limbo right now. Riot has 14.9% of the company in shares. They've been stopped because Bitfarms put out the poison pill, right? The voters' rights bill, or shareholders' rights bill to prevent that. That's in court right now at the tribunal in Canada. We'll see what comes of that. And then, I just don't see it happening. Hey, Seb, any interest in being the CEO of Bitfarms? No interest whatsoever. That it's too stressful. I wouldn't want to be there. I like doing what I'm doing here. I think you'd have to travel a lot. I hate traveling too. I'm not a big fan of travels. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm an introvert. I don't like all this other stuff. I like having time to myself a lot of times, spending time with my kids. I love having my kids and spending time with them. Other than that, I'm not for it. Let's see here. I am in Toronto. Tribunal is for canceling the poison pill, so it would trigger at around 20%. Okay, thank you for, yeah, so that's kind of what I thought. Instead, today is some kind of initial phase. I think July 2022, 23 is the real thing. Okay, so we still have a ways to go on that to play out, and we'll make you our honorary reporter on that scene for Bitfarms and the Tribunal there. Considering they have the same amount of exahash, about 10 exahash. So you're talking about IREN and Bitfarms, yeah. What stops the Paraguay flood for Bitfarms? Gosh, I don't know. I don't know if that will ever stop. Bitcoin miners and mining and all that stuff is still, maybe in some spots, still a little controversial, right? With some people especially. So I don't know if that's ever going to stop. I don't think it's ever going to stop with any of the miners or Bitcoin in general. There's always going to be some kind of FUD coming out from someplace. Right now, Paraguay seems to be the one because we're seeing a lot more interest in Paraguay and the hydropower that they have, all that stuff. So you're seeing all this stuff coming out there. All right, perfect. I think I'm all caught up to you guys' questions here. So we'll call it a day. We are going for about an hour and a half here. So we've gone way over our usual hour, but that's okay. I love spending time with you guys and chatting here and having a good time. Hope you guys enjoyed it too. So tomorrow, we'll see who reports tomorrow. I'm guessing IREN is going to report maybe tomorrow. IREN, who else is going to usually report tomorrow? I would expect maybe Marathon as well. Riot possibly as well. We'll see if they report. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll cover it here. We'll talk about it as always. And again, thank you so much for coming in to watch these, to spend time here, to ask the questions. Love chatting with you guys as always. So also, I might do, I'm off the next 3 days here. I'm off the following week as well because I'm going to be working around the house with the remodeling. So I may, if I need a little break or something like that, I may do a live stream like at noon or something like that. Maybe for all of you guys that are asleep when I'm doing these now, you guys might be able to jump in at that point and also ask questions. So I may do that if I have time and I feel like I want to do a little break from remodeling. Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night, and thank you again for coming in.